Hello, friends. Today, I want to teach you guys Magic the Gathering. The card game, not like actual magic. That's coming next week. Anyways, oh no, now that I said that, people will hold me to it. Anyways, I started my new Magic the Gathering channel recently, right? And I have seen a lot of people ask Baumi, I don't know how this game works. I want to know about these videos. I want to watch these videos. I want to know what's going on. I want to support you, but I don't get the game. And okay, you know what? So let's just fucking learn it. Let's do it. I'm here to teach you magic. That's what we're doing today. You requested it, so we're doing it. This will take a while, maybe. I don't know. The game isn't actually that complicated, but it depends a bit on how rambly I get. Now, before we really get into it, so I've got a little bit of a setup here. I've got my example deck that I will use to demonstrate things. But before we do that, I think the best way for you to actually learn Magic is through this. This is Magic the Gathering Arena. It's available on Steam. It is free to play. You can just download it and play it. And you don't actually need to play it. I'm not telling you to go and play a whole ass video game, but instead, I'm telling you to play the tutorial of it. If you play the tutorial of this game, it will teach you all of the basics of Magic, while, having really nice visuals and like guidance that helps you through it. This is really the best starting point for actually learning how to play Magic, right? Like, as much as I can explain it to you right now, and I will, you would probably still be pretty well off to do the tutorial anyways. Okay? Cool. Great. So, let's start a little bit with some basics first. Some context, if you will. So, Magic the Gathering is an old game. It is older than me. Magic the Gathering has been around forever, but it was originally conceptualized as a 1 versus 1 game, and that eventually turned competitive. And so, the general understanding of Magic the Gathering is that it's a 1 versus 1 competitive game. You play it with 60 card decks, or sometimes 75, depending on how you look at the sideboard. Doesn't really matter. 60 card decks, 1 versus 1 competitive. However, Magic is a really cool game. There's like so much to it. It's a very expansive game. There's like 20,000 cards. It's actually more than 20,000 cards at this point. So eventually people came to a point of wanting to do stuff with Magic that aren't super competitive. I think as the legend goes, it was a bunch of judges after... Wait, what is that? I got a hype chest? I got a reward emote? Twitch is being weird. Sorry, I got distracted. Okay. As legend goes, at the end of like a tournament, a bunch of judges for that tournament were like, oh, fuck. We want to play some Magic, but we have had enough of these tryhards. So what they did is they started playing a casual version of it called Elder Dragon Highlander. And Elder Dragon Highlander eventually evolved into Commander. And today, Commander is the most popular format for Magic the Gathering. Now, what's the difference between Commander and regular Magic? Well, first of all, Commander is explicitly casual. The whole idea of Commander is we're playing for nothing. We're just playing because it's fun. And to that extent, Commander is no longer a 1 versus 1 game. It is now a 4-player free-for-all. So instead of 2 players, we have 4. That's very important. There are no teams. Everybody's fighting for themselves. But that changes the game to be more of a board game than, like a competitive card game. It's more about just hanging out and having a good time, playing with some cards that you like. And to that extent, the decks aren't optimized. The decks are instead built to be thematically interesting. So whether that be through a gameplay theme or some other, like, I don't know, a lore theme or an art theme or whatever, right? Like, some people like building, like, I have a cats and dogs deck, although I mostly bought that one, but I have a vampires deck. That one plays a bunch of vampires, right? I have a deck that plays a bunch of commanders. It's just my Simic commander deck that plays a whole bunch of other Simic commanders. Don't worry about it. We will get into the terminology in a bit. The point being is that our decks in Commander, they are not necessarily built to be the strongest decks possible. Instead, they are built to be fun to play with and play against and have some sort of like theming. And they are built to be fair so that everybody gets to kind of play the game a little bit. We could very easily build decks that completely ruin, or like that kind of like are super, super powerful and win very, very quickly. But we deliberately don't do that, and instead we build with cards that we just think are more enjoyable. That's a bit of a strange thing if you come from a Dota landscape, but that's why I think Commander is so cool, because we can do that kind of stuff here, right? So, Commander is a game about commanders. This right here is Six, who will help me demonstrate things today. Although this is a very, very powerful deck. It's probably my most powerful deck. But I just think it's easy to demonstrate things with it. So we're gonna be using that. Now, I will start by explaining some basics. And as we do that, we're gonna keep expanding upon these basics, okay? So it will not necessarily be all-encompassing right away. Instead, we're gonna be keeping it simple, and then we're gonna get increasingly more complex as we go through. I will also try to explain it in a way that maybe makes sense to Dota players. So chat, if you have any suggestions for certain things being good comparisons to Dota, then please feel free to just let us know. The first thing we have to do is we shuffle our deck. That is playing matchmaking with yourself. I don't fucking know. That's just like, you just have to shuffle your deck, right? And then, after we have shuffled our deck, we draw 7 cards. So here's our shuffled deck, and then we draw 7 cards. We get to look at our 7 cards because this is our hand. Now let's do that together. We have a forest, a cavalier, Nyxbloom Ancient, Kenris Transformation, a forest, and a forest. Simple enough. So, looking at these cards, you may notice that I've piled them into some distinct piles. Also, you might notice that this one is in Japanese. Leave me alone. The Japanese one was half the price of the English one. And I know what it does. Every once in a while, I'll buy Japanese cards because they're significantly cheaper. Which is kind of funny because, like in other trading card games, the Japanese cards are more expensive. But I think it's because Magic is actually like an American, like made by an American company, so the English cards are more expensive. Anyways, so the first thing we do in our turn is we draw a card. We have drawn a card. We did draw a card. Sorry, I was surprised. I didn't remember putting this one into the deck. Anyways, so this is our hand. What do we do on our turn? Well, we go into our first main phase. In our main phase, we get to play a land. This is a land. I have now played a land. I will pick this stuff up, by the way. So, I have a land. This is a forest. A forest produces green mana. There are 5 different colors of mana: green, red, blue, black, and white. This is green mana. We can use green mana to pay for generic costs and for green costs. Cards will have mana costs. For example, this card has a green and a generic in its mana cost. It costs a combined 2 mana, one of which has to be green, and the other can be whatever. Doesn't really matter. You can use whatever color you want to pay for it. Okay? Great. We have a land in play. We can play 1 land a turn. Only 1. Sometimes there are cards that say you can play additional lands, but by default, we can only play 1 land a turn. We can tap a land to add mana into our mana pool. So now we have 1 green mana in our mana pool. And I will now use this mana to play a skeleton key. This is an artifact equipment. Don't worry about it. Point being, we spend mana to play this. It costs 1 generic, so we can use a green for it. Great. And that's the end of our turn. We are done. Now the other 3 players each get to take their turn. And then it's our turn again. Now, at the start of our turn, we untap our lands. So, tapping is doing this, right? A tapped card is a used card. That's what it indicates, that we have already used this effect. We untap it. This means every turn we add an additional, like every turn we can use this mana again. Does that make sense? Then we go into our upkeep, where we have a bunch of effects that could happen. We don't have any of them, but sometimes there are effects. And then we draw a card. We draw a Bane of Progress. And then we go into our main phase again. And in our main phase, we can yet again play a land. We shall play another forest, if I can pick one up. There we go. Now I have 2 forests in play. Great. Very good. Beautiful. So now, if I wanted to use my 2 forests, I could tap them, and now I have 2 mana available to myself. Oh, by the way, this is happening in the main phase. All right, cool. Now, unfortunately, I don't have anything I can really do with them. While in theory, I could play this card. This isn't a card that we want to play yet. It's a bit more of a late game thing, or later thing, not right away thing. But that's okay. We'll just do nothing. That's okay. So we leave our lands untapped, and we pass our turn. Our opponents get to do their thing, and we go into our next turn. We draw another forest. Perfect. Again, at the beginning of our turn, untap, upkeep, draw. We play our 3rd forest for the game. Now we have 3 mana available. With our 3 mana, we can't play anything that we have in hand. This thing, again, we don't want to play yet. This one is 5 mana. This one is 6 mana. 7. Way too much. However, our commander is 6. Yes, that's his name. Just 6. It's just the number 6. And 6 costs 3 mana. 2 generic and 1 green. So we can use our 3 mana to play 6. In Commander, every deck has a commander. This is our commander. The commander places some restrictions upon your deck. Most notably, which colors you can play in it. 6 is entirely green. It's only green as a creature, which means we can only play green cards in our deck. However, the commander is a special card, meaning the commander hangs out in what's called the command zone. So it's not in our hand and it's not in our deck. It is in its own space, and it starts there at the beginning of the game. We can play the commander out of the command zone whenever we have the mana for it. And once the commander is in play, it just acts like any other creature that is in play. Any legendary creature can be a commander. So you have a wide range of possibilities there. Massive range. There are thousands of possible commanders you can play. Once a commander is in play, they just act like any regular creature. And if a commander gets destroyed, we can, instead of having the commander going into the graveyard, we can put the commander back into the command zone. And then we can play the commander out of the command zone again, but this time it costs 2 additional mana. And then if the commander gets destroyed again, we can put it back into the command zone and then play it again, but this time it costs 4 additional mana. And it keeps adding an additional 2. So every time we do this, it becomes more expensive. What's important here is that commanders are reliable. First of all, you probably built your deck with them in mind. And secondly, you always have access to them. It's basically impossible to make it so a player doesn't have access to their commander. So, 6 right here is a delightful card that we're not going to focus on right now. But we have 6 in play. We have played 6. We have our commander in play. Great, fantastic, excellent, excellent. 6 is a creature, a 2 and a 4. So 2 power and 4 defense. When 6 attacks, he does a bunch of things. He has a bunch of effects. Don't worry about that again. Right now, we're not focusing on that. We're going to go into combat. That is the phase that comes after the main phase. We haven't talked about that yet because we haven't had a creature yet. But now we are in combat. In combat, I can attack a player. However, for that, I need to have a creature in play that isn't a summoning sick. When I play a creature, it is summoning sick, like it starts out summoning sick. What that means is it can't immediately tap, meaning it can't attack because attacking requires tapping. And that means I have to wait until it is my next turn for this creature to not be summoning sick. So we have played 6, we go into combat, but we can't attack yet, so we won't. After combat comes a second main phase where we can play more cards if we want to, but we already played our 1 land for the turn, and we don't have anything else in hand that we can play for 0 mana because we already used our mana for 6. So we go into our end step, and then our turn ends. Great, and then our opponents do stuff on their turn, and then we go into our next turn. We untap our lands, we check if there's anything happening in the upkeep. No, and then we draw a card. It's a monkey. Great. So, now we are in our turn and we play another forest. We are always playing lands on our turn. That is the most important thing. We want to make sure we're always progressing with our lands. And then we're gonna go to combat. Now, once we go into combat, what we do is we declare attackers. So we have to say which of our creatures attacks and which player they attack. So I can now say I want to use 6 and I will attack Scally. Wait, there we go. I attack Scally over there. Or I could attack the player over there or the player that's sitting over there, right? Keep in mind, we're sitting at a table with 3 players, with 3 additional players. So I can attack either over there or over there or over there. What's important here, in Magic, you can't attack a creature directly. So if our opponent, let's say our opponent is this beautiful gay Dragon Knight here, had this Dragon Knight in play, I wouldn't be able to say I use my 6 to attack the Dragon Knight. I can't do that. The only thing I can do is I can say I attack this opponent. So that's what I will do. I will go and this will be on the new YouTube channel. No, this will be on the old YouTube channel. This is not a nice enough video for the new YouTube channel. So, 6 now gets to attack, right? So I will say I attack you up there with your Dragon Knight with 6. For that, I have to tap 6. And now our opponent gets to decide whether or not they want to block. This is how you win a game of Magic. You get your opponents down to 0 HP. Everybody starts with 20 in regular Magic, but in Commander, everybody starts with 40. So that's quite a lot. That's part of the goal of making it a casual game. But with 40 HP, you need to kind of punch through them. You need to attack him. And so when I attack somebody with 6, that player can now decide, do I want to throw one of my creatures in front of it to block it? Or do I want to just take the damage? The defender gets to decide what happens. That's a really important aspect of this game. It's up to the defender to decide what happens. Who gets to fight? What creatures fight each other? So let's say, for example, instead of having Dragon Knight, our opponent has Kogla Titanape. And Kogla is a 7/6 creature. So it's a pretty big guy. If I attack with 6, my opponent can now block with Kogla. And because 7 attack is bigger than 4 health, my 6 would die. And because 2 is less than 6 health, Kogla would survive. Creatures keep damage that they took until end of turn, and then they are fully healed. So in Hearthstone, for example, if I deal 2 damage to Kogla, now Kogla would have 4 HP until I do something to recover that HP or until Kogla dies. In Magic, at the end of turn, every creature goes back to their maximum HP, right? But during combat, they can keep their damage. But that's not as important right now. Don't worry too much about that. So, I attack. My opponent decides, you know what? I will block. Cool. Okay. Well, that was a shitty attack on my end. And then 6 dies. Instead of putting 6 into the graveyard, I put 6 back into the command zone. And then it's my opponent's turn. And my opponent now decides, you know what, Baumi, I'm going to fucking hit you for that. So my opponent attacks me with Kogler. Now, Kogler has an effect. You may notice that these creatures have text written on them. This text is pretty important. Many creatures have very powerful effects. 6 has one as well, which we chose to ignore for now, but, you know, it is there. And Kogler says when Kogler attacks, he gets to destroy an artifact. This over here is an artifact, so he will just kind of blow this up, and this has been destroyed. And I'm losing horribly now. I'm not in good shape. Well, I guess that's just how it is. Our opponent has a tapped Kogler now, and we go back into our next turn. On our next turn, we can play a forest again. Now, at this stage, we could either play 6, because keep in mind, it's a commander, so we can always replay it, or I could play one of the other cards in my hand. For example, I could play a Cavalier of Thorns. This is a 5 mana, 5/6. It costs 3 green mana and 2 generic, but we have a bunch of green mana. And it has an effect when it enters the battlefield, which looks at the top 5 cards of my deck. And then I reveal them. And I can put a land from among them into play. So I got an extra land this turn. And all of the rest goes into my graveyard. So I got an extra land. Isn't that nice? So you can kind of see how there are intricacies there, right? Like it comes down to like how you play the game, how you go about it. Like there's a bunch of like different strategies here. So it might be our opponent's turn now again. Our opponent untaps and sees, okay, well there's a 5/6 now, but Baumi doesn't have any mana, so he probably can't do anything, right? He's got 1 green mana. Now there are cards, there are lots of cards actually that let you do things on your opponent's turn. Those are called instants. And those cards, well there's also... I know, there's lots of other cards that also let you do stuff on your opponent's turn. Magic is a very interactive game. You can very much play on your opponent's turn. But let's say our opponent, okay, you know what? I'm just going to swing at Baumi again. So I take another 7 damage. I'm just getting absolutely destroyed right now. But very importantly, once we go back into my turn, I draw a card, I draw another forest. Now, this guy is tapped. And a creature that's tapped can't block. So now I can swing back and deal some damage as well. And you can see how there's, all of a sudden, there's like some nuance to this combat, right? If I attack, I'm leaving myself open to be attacked. I can't block anymore. Even though Kogla is stronger than this one, because I am attacking over here and this guy already attacked me earlier and is tapped right now, can't defend. So that's kind of how combat works, and that's how you work your way through your opponent. You kind of try to murder them by attacking them with creatures. Now, there's lots of other strategies. This is like just the most basic way of playing things, is you just smack people with guys. But yeah, there are other types of cards as well. For example, this right here is Mulch. Mulch costs us 2 mana to play, so we tap 2 lands. And then Mulch is a sorcery. A sorcery is a card that has an immediate effect and then goes to the graveyard. It doesn't come into play. And what this says is reveal the top 4 cards of my library. So I reveal the top 4 cards. And then I get to put all lands from among the revealed cards into my hand, which is kind of sick. I just drew 4 cards, so pretty lucky Mulch. So I add all 4 of these lands into my hand, and I drew a bunch of cards. And now we can actually think about maybe using some of our other effects, some of our other cards. So we keep getting smacked by this monkey, so that's not good. So I can play a Kenris Transformation. This is an enchantment. And what this does is it changes the properties of a creature. So I can play this on the monkey. And what this now does is it turns the monkey into a free elk that doesn't have any other abilities. So the monkey is no longer a monkey, it's now an elk. And it doesn't have any abilities. And even better, when this comes into play, I draw a card. No abilities means it doesn't have a text box. That's what it means, right? So now the monkey is all of a sudden a lot less dangerous. Now, you might be wondering, why is it good that this guy fills up our graveyard? I mean, isn't that a bad thing? Mulch, for example, as well, says that when you do this, and you don't hit a land, right? For every card that isn't a land, it just goes into your graveyard. And that's because we need to start discussing our commander again. So let's just kind of cheat a little bit, if that's all right. I'll just put 6 into play and then skip ahead a little bit. We go into our turn again. So 6 has some really interesting text on them. What 6 says is whenever 6 attacks, I mill 3 cards, and then I can put a land from among those milled cards into my hand. So if I attack with 6, that means I look at the top 3 cards of my deck. I get to put one of these lands, I'm going to put a land into my hand, and then the rest goes into my graveyard. Okay, that doesn't seem super good, does it? But here's where it gets interesting. 6 also says, at the bottom here, as long as it's your turn, non-land permanent cards in your graveyard have retrace. Now that's a bit of a complicated sentence if you don't understand Magic. So allow me to deconstruct it for you. As long as it's your turn, I think we understand that part. Non-land permanent cards in your graveyard. This is our graveyard. And a non-land permanent card is a card that isn't a land. So, for example, this forest right here is excluded. And isn't an instant or sorcery. So, for example, an enchantment is a permanent. That's because when it comes into play, it stays in play. Same for an equipment, an artifact here, or for a creature. All of these stay in play when I play them. And finally, he gives those specific cards retrace, which means we can play them out of our graveyard. If I discard a land, that's the condition. So what I can do is I can discard a land, and then I can get this guy into play. That still costs me mana, but I was able to basically turn a land in my hand into a card out of my graveyard. And you can do crazy stuff with that. Like, for example, I could tap 2 mana to play the Sakura Tribe Elder here. And I can then, what this guy says is I can sacrifice him. So he goes into my graveyard. And then I get to search my deck for a basic land, for a forest, and put it into play. So now I have that in play. And then I could discard a land yet again to bring this guy back for another 2 mana. And then I can sacrifice him again to get another forest. Now, I know that seems like a lot of effort, but ultimately we are getting more lands in play, which means more mana for next turn, right? And right now our opponent is managed because our opponent just has an elk. It's just an elk. We don't need to worry about that. And then we get to go absolutely crazy. All right, so we go into our next turn, and you can see now we have a sheer infinite amount of lands. Now we have 10 lands in play. That's a lot. And we draw a card here. And this is where we start doing degenerate 6 stuff, where we tap 7 mana to play. In case you guys want to see some, like what this looks like once it gets really stupid. We tap 7 mana, we play Nyx Bloom Ancient. Nyx Bloom Ancient says whenever you tap something for mana, you make 3 times as much. So these tap for 3 mana each. And then we can check what we have here. We have a Greater Good. That's fantastic. So I will tap these 2 for 6. And then I get to, I discard this. I play a Greater Good. This comes into play. This is an enchantment with an activated ability where I can sacrifice a creature and then I draw cards equal to its power and then discard 3 cards. So I can now, for example, sacrifice this guy, goes into my graveyard, and then I draw 5 cards, and then I get to discard, though I have to discard 3 cards, but discarding 3 cards isn't that bad. So for example, I discard these right here. I keep these 2 in hand. Well, actually, I will keep this in hand as well, and I will discard another forest. And then keep in mind, I can tap this for 3 mana still. I can tap this for 3 mana still. And then I can play a Splendid Reclamation, which returns all of the lands from my graveyard into play. And I think you can see how this nonsense starts escalating, right? So the thing is that these decks are all built to be kind of these like cool machines of like doing long chains of events and intricate interactions where you get to do all kinds of really neat things and get to do really, really cool like strategies. Now, this right here, as I mentioned, is probably my strongest deck. This is a deck that can win very, very quickly and can do a huge amount of damage because there's a large difference in kind of like how people like to play the game. Some people like playing with really strong decks. Some people like playing with very casual, very chill decks. Some people like doing both and having a bit of variety. I probably fall into that later camp. Is there a maximum number of lands you could have? No. No, you can have as many as you want. I have, the last time I played six against real human opponents, I managed to get every single land in my deck into play, which is 46. I had 46 lands in play. I also had 26 Nyx Broom Ancients, because you can duplicate them with some of the other cards in the deck. So I could tap one land, I think, for 3 billion mana. And yes, you can split that mana, so I can use the 3 billion mana, I can use that however much I want. Like I can spend 3 mana of those 3 billion on this card and then a little bit more on that other card and so on. So it gets a bit ridiculous once you really get going. But that's what's so beautiful about it, right? It's like this broad range of stuff. Now, there was another thing that that just popped up that I wanted to show you. So Magic is a collectible game, right? And I think that's great. That's a strength. Like the fact that it's a physical game is great. It's a strength. It's something I really like. And this right here is one of my favorite cards. This right here is a forest. It's a forest I got for my birthday from a good close friend of mine. And I really, really cherish this. So for my birthday, I asked a bunch of my friends for forests and I got a bunch of them. And I think I hold them very dearly. I've kind of like spread them out across a multitude of different decks. So I get to see them frequently. I don't have them all in one place. And this one is in here. And that's like something that I think is really great about it. You may notice that my commander for this deck has a really nice artwork, right? Like this is a part of the like collection aspect of it, where it is a collectible game. And I think that's a strength. That's part of what makes it so fun. For example, over here in this little deck box, I have my tournament deck. And my tournament deck is a deck where I put a lot of effort into kind of choosing the artworks of the cards that I play because, I don't know, I just thought it would be quite a lot of fun. They are not all expensive, although some of them are, but they are all very deliberately chosen because I think they look nice and because I wanted to have pretty ones, right? And having that kind of like range is something that's, I think, really valuable and really important. Because it's a nice way to kind of get to express yourself, I suppose. And I don't know, I like the collection aspect of it. Now, so far we have primarily looked at a monocolored deck. There are 5 different colors of mana: green, red, blue, white, and black. And there are decks that use more than one color. So this right here, for example, is a deck that uses 3 different colors. It uses green, white, and red. Now, I'm getting this deck out specifically to also illustrate a different point. So Magic is a collectible game, and part of that is that it's a little bit expensive, right? Like I think if you were to actually buy all of the cards in this deck from scratch, it would run you around $120, which is of course a lot of money for cardboard, right? Now, from my experience, you kind of accumulate that slowly. I know 120 for one deck seems like a lot of money, and it kind of is. But if you think about it, like, would you be ready to spend 50 euros a month on your hobby? For me, that's fine. That's a reasonable amount. I don't think that's crazy, right? And those 50 euros a month, they accumulate. That just adds up, right? You do it for a year, 50 euros a month individually, totally fine, totally acceptable. But then, of course, at the end of the year, spend $600. And you can look at that as a bad thing, but I actually think that's fine. Like, I don't see that as an issue. And then you start accumulating a collection of cards that, allows you to build stuff like this. However, for some of you, and very reasonably so, that might still be too much money. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. In fact, when I started, that was very difficult for me. So this right here is a card. It's a magic card. Do any of you notice anything weird about this card? Let me get out a comparable magic card. Notice anything weird about this bad boy? I can get him out of the sleeve too. It's not the gold alloy. That just indicates which color he is. Like he's golden because this is a green card and this guy is 3 colors. And when you have 3 colors, it gets this gold frame. The difference between these cards is that this right here is a Magic the Gathering card, and this right here is a proxy. This is not a real card. But you wouldn't have known, would you? So these right here are proxies that you can order online. They will run you about 25 cents a card. They come on proper cardboard. They feel just like Magic cards, like you can see, right? They feel just right. They have a card back that clearly indicates that they are not real Magic cards, which means they are not counterfeits, which is a very important distinction. A counterfeit is a card that pretends to be a real card. This is a proxy that is clearly indicated at the back, making it absolutely clear, not for sale, proxy, not a real Magic card, right? That's a big difference. And that's kind of like what makes this okay compared to a counterfeit. And these kinds of cards are very popular where I'm from. In my local community, I would guess 70 to 80% use cards like these. And that's because these are way cheaper. You can get any card you want, any Magic card at all, if you print them as a proxy, if you order them as a proxy for 25 cents. And for example, this guy right here is like, the cheapest version of 6 is like 3 or 4 euros. So you can get it for 25 cents if you get it there. Now, that doesn't have any collectible value, of course, and you can't play it at official tournaments, but if you're just playing casual Commander, it's totally fine. Who gives a shit, right? You can even go further. If this is still too much for you, and I'm not saying that as a bad thing, I'm just saying if that's still too much, what you can also do instead is you can do this. What's that? This is just a fucking... There's just a paper cutout in front of a card. This is just something I printed on my printer. This is even less real. This is nothing, right? But the advantage of this is, of course, you can just do it at home. It costs basically nothing. And you can use it to freely test your cards. So why am I using this right here? Well, first of all, because I think this is fine. This does not bother me whatsoever, right? So I will pretty frequently just use proxies like this. But I like using these to test decks. When I'm building a deck, instead of immediately buying the cards, I go and I print them first. And then if I like them, if I like the deck, then I will buy it as proper cards. I used to buy these kinds of proxies, but I haven't bought these in a while. These were a great starting point. Like this really enabled me to like start playing Magic properly without having to feel like I'm playing something that's kind of like inferior. Because like I would have had to like play with this stuff or play with worse decks where I didn't really know how to build them yet. But yeah, so you can do proxies. Totally fine if that's something that works better for you. But it's also worth mentioning that it is actually totally possible to build cheap, effective decks for a very low cost. My most well-constructed deck, I think, is this right here. This is my tournament deck I showed you earlier, right? And this tournament deck is specifically built for a 50 euro budget tournament. I have won the tournament, and they are very, very competitive, right? And I've won the tournament with this deck, and this deck costs 50 euros if you were to buy it, not like with cheaper artworks. Not these artworks. These artworks are a bit more expensive. But, you know, like if you were to buy the cheaper artworks, the cheapest available, then it would run you 50 euros because that's the restriction for the budget tournament, right? Also, Mickey got me these sleeves. Aren't they just the most adorable thing? Oh, I love them so much. I'm actually currently in the process of something I've been doing. Like, again, when I started Magic, I was using a lot of these kinds of proxies. I've been kind of getting out of them. I've been using these less and less. And I've been in the process of turning all of my decks into like proxy-less decks. And all of my, what I call permanent decks, right? I will often have decks that I'm just experimenting with, like this one right here. And if I then like them a lot and I feel like, oh, I want this to be part of my permanent collection, then I will, and I will go and like buy all of the cards. And there's one deck right now where I'm in the process of doing that, that's using these sleeves. And unfortunately, it has to wait until probably next month because the cards that I want, they're a bit more on the expensive side. They're around $60. So it has to wait until next month. I don't have the Magic budget left for this month. Anyways, but yeah, I think these sleeves are so fun. I use them for my commanders pretty much any chance I get. Actually, I have another one here, and I should. Well, give me one moment. Change this out, obviously, right? I mean, like, you gotta. So, yeah. Anyways. Let me go ahead and put this back into the sleeve. I guess it's maybe worth mentioning accessories. You may notice that I'm using sleeves on all of my cards. I think sleeves are much nicer to play with. I don't just use them to protect the cards. I actually don't care less about that. That's not as important to me. But it's just a nicer play feel to play with sleeves. So I play with sleeves. It's nicer to shuffle and so on. I just like it more in that way. You also may notice there's a playmat here. Now, this may seem a little bit weird if you're not familiar with it, but the reason why we use playmats is because when you have a card that's like on a table like this, it's kind of difficult to pick up. And if you have a card on a playmat like this, it's really easy because the playmat has a bit of give. So like I can even just scoop it up like this super easily, right? And I can, if I were to do that on a desk, let me just go ahead and if I were to just do that here, you can see how it pushes it. Like, yeah, I can still pick it up, but it pushes it around. But if I do it here, no problem at all, right? Like immediately picks it up. So a playmat is not just something that we use because we look fancy, but it actually genuinely makes the play experience much nicer because you can pick the cards up much easier. Another big advantage of it is that it clearly indicates which part of the desk is your area, right? Like it makes it much easier to know where kind of each player's play space is. If you have 4 playmats, everybody knows where they can put their cards. So a playmat is usually like an important thing as well. Although this stuff isn't expensive. Like this is a super cheap one. I got this one for like $5. I have actually much nicer ones, but I just kind of like this one I've gotten attached to this horrible thing. It doesn't even look nice, does it? It's not good. You can get much nicer ones than this one, but I get attached to things, right? Is there a luck factor in Magic? It's a card game. Of course there's a luck factor, but it is very much like... It's very much, I think, still a skill-driven game, but a lot of that skill kind of... No, it's a skill-driven game. It's like one of those things where it's like, it's both skill-driven and there's some luck. Like, it has both. I don't see why both can't exist at the same time. So anyways, but yeah. So this is kind of like a bit of a different deck. Now, what I wanted to illustrate with this deck is that the different colors of mana are a really important factor. So you can see this is a deck that uses 3 different colors of mana, right? And when you are playing, you need to keep that in mind. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to play a couple of turns with those 3 colors of mana just to kind of like be aware of that. Also, by the way, in case you're curious, these 2 decks, 6, although I made a much cheaper budget version of this one, and this one are decks that I'm making videos about for the other channel. So I'm not saying that to advertise it. I don't really give a shit. Like, whatever. If you want to watch it, then go watch it. But I'm making videos about these So, anyways. Would you recommend monocolor decks for beginners? Monocolor, dual color is both fine, I think. 3 colors is where it gets difficult. One of the frustrating things about Magic, and this is something I actively dislike about this game. Let me say, this game isn't perfect. One of the biggest problems I have with Magic is that you can, as I said, you can build really, really good, cheap decks. Like, you can do that. But what's frustrating is that oftentimes the most expensive part of a deck will be the lands, because really good lands are expensive. Like, if you want shock lands, fetch lands, don't worry about what these terms mean. But then you're paying $15 for a single land, and that's super annoying. I wish the lands were cheaper. But if you play monocolored, you don't have to worry about that. You just put in a bunch of basics, and basics are free. You can literally get them for free. So anyways, I've got a hand with literally a single land, so that's unplayable. Let's just go and put that back. You get 1 free mulligan at the beginning of the game, which means you can put your hand back and draw a new hand once. Here we go. So you can see here, we've got some cards, and then we've got a multitude of lands of different colors. And that's important because we need to keep that in mind. So let's go through this a little bit, okay? I draw a land. I actually don't want to draw this right now, because I want to illustrate a point, so I'm just gonna pretend we drew something else. All right, great. So, turn 1, we don't have much to do, so I will just play a plains. Great. We have played a plains. Turn 2. Again, trying to demonstrate a point. My deck is too well built. It has too many ways to fix our mana. So, we are now in turn 2, right? I have 1 white mana. This taps for white mana. And if you look at our hand, I can't tap this immediately. Wait, actually, let me start with this. I want to play Wall of Blossoms. This costs 2 mana to play, one of which has to be green. But if we look at our hand, we actually don't have access to any green mana immediately. This right here will only give us green mana next turn because it comes into play tapped. And this right here lets us search up a forest out of our deck, but that also comes into play tapped. And it costs some mana to do. So even though we are on turn 2, we can't actually play a 2 mana card because our colors are wrong. That's an important aspect of Magic. You have to keep the colors in mind. They are very, very important. So what the correct play probably is to do this, and then I get to get rid of that. And now I can search out my forest and put the forest into play. And now next turn, right? Next turn, I have access to the mana. So now I can play this, and now I can tap 2, and I can play the Wall of Blossoms. And now I have my mana. And then I go here, right? And so we go next turn. And now next turn, I probably want to play my commander. So I play another land. And for the commander, I require a red, a green, and a white. So I have my red, I have my green, and I have my white. So I can tap all of these, and then I can tap 1 more because this guy has an ability, and I can search out Norn and start doing stupid Norn shit. This is a strange deck. We don't need to get into detail about what this deck actually does right now. That seems like maybe a bit of a weird idea. Something I'm also planning on doing is I'm planning on actually like auctioning off decks, where like I'll build a deck, I'll showcase it a bit. I want to play the game on stream with you guys. Like, I would really, really love it if we could play like Commander on stream together. That's something I really want to figure out how we best do that. And then, like, I want to play against you, the community. I want to play against you guys. I want to play with you. That's it. Wish I could play Commander with you guys. I wish I could have, like, I want to, my goal is I want to have Friday streams where we basically stream all day and we play Commander, and I get to play test my weird shitty brews, and I get to like print new cards to like try and fix it up and do like repeated tests and see how good it works and so on. That's what I want to do. And then I can use that for the videos, like that experience. But yeah, I think Commander has just been, it's been such a positive experience for me, really. Learning the game, well, actually at first it wasn't, but like I gotta say, at first I mostly started playing because I knew that it was good for me, because it was good to get social interaction. But the people I originally played with weren't very nice. It wasn't the best environment. But then I eventually like found a group of people that I really, really enjoy spending time with. And ever since I've been playing with them, things have just been fantastic for me. It's been so good for me, and it's been so much fun. And I honestly, every week, I can't wait to play again. How long does an average game last? I would say around an hour. I think around an hour, maybe an hour 15, an hour and a half sometimes. So the games are a bit long, definitely, definitely. That kind of depends as well which power level you play, right? There is a format called CEDH, which is Competitive Commander, where people always proxy. You never actually buy the cards for it because the decks are thousands of dollars. And in CEDH, you just like you have games that last 10 minutes, like even less than that. Like there are games that end on turn one before anybody even got to do anything. But I don't like CEDH very much. But yeah, I don't know. Like it's been fantastic. You know, it's like small things. This may sound stupid, but I love that I have this like thing that is really easy for me to like have in common with my friends, where like all of them had have their birthday across the last, like one of them, like yeah, across the next, like kind of like the autumn months. I guess that's how I should put it. And I like giving people gifts, and it's really easy to just give people like, here's a card, you know, here's something that I know you wouldn't buy for yourself, so I got it for you. And I think that's really cool. And, you know, like I just enjoy it. I've been, there's something they do which are called secret layers, where they print these, like where they get like certain artists or styles or something like that. No, rather, man, I disagree that, like, that's not what I want to do. Like, I get what you're saying, but, like, play with the community for me, I still want to do, very specifically, I want to do, like, webcam, tabletop. Anyways, so, and I got, for this deck right here, I got a secret layer which has a bunch of these cards, which I think are just so gorgeous. They are so gorgeous, and they fit all perfectly into this silly deck of mine, right? And again, it's like that collectible aspect of it, and I think it's just so fun. It's so nice. One of the like, okay, there's so many reasons why I want to become like a Magic the Gathering content creator, right? But I really love interacting with people at events. I love meeting like my community at events. That's something I've always really enjoyed. And I'm somebody, as I already said, I get attached to things, right? Like you see my shitty playmat. Like, why am I not getting a nicer one? I don't even need to get a nicer one. I have a nicer one. Wait. Like, I own this. Look at it. Look at how pretty it is. It's really good. It's really nice. I own this and I never use it. And I don't use it. Because I get attached to things, right? Oh, hello. Oh, well, Mickey is coming. What's up? Yeah, what's up? I'm doing a thing. Oh, all right. Okay. Good, bad. Good. And 3 cats, a bat and 3 cats. Did you find a hag? Did you go into? You're the hag. Oh, those are your bats and 3 cats. Okay, all right. Well, that's very good. But yeah, you know, like if I got all of these, which I think are just gorgeous. Like, aren't they just the most beautiful thing? And I just think that's super fun. But what I was saying, right? And like, what I would really love is I would love it if people gave me lands. And I hope that doesn't sound entitled. So when I say lands, I mean basic lands. Basic lands, as I already said, they are free. But one of my favorite things in existence are these basic lands that my friends gave me. And I would be so happy if, you know, like I could go to like Magic events and people just gave me lands, like with little scribbles on them or anything like that. That would be, if I could, in all of my decks, just have all of the lands just be people, like things gave to me, that would make me so happy. And you know, like it's a real community. Like you can just talk to people. When I try to talk to other people in the Dota community, you just get ignored. You just get ignored. They don't want to talk to you. I don't know, maybe it's just me. Maybe they don't want to talk to me, but with Magic, I can just contact people and they get back to me and they're happy to talk to me. And you know, that's nice. That's really good. And I don't know, there's just like so many things that I would be really like. It's such an interesting game, you know, like all of these decks that I'm showing you here, right? Like this right here, this deck has a completely different game plan from this deck, from this deck. They're completely different. They're completely different experience. They feel like you're almost playing a completely different game. And the beautiful thing is, I designed that experience. Every deck that I design, every deck that I build is basically a game design challenge by itself. And you guys know that's my thing. That's my thing. Like I need like that's. It's so great. It's such a deck building itself is wonderful. Playing is wonderful. It's so good for me mentally, and I really can't recommend it enough. If you want to get started, right? Like just fucking print some proxies. Go to a copy shop. $3. You get really nice print quality. You don't have to do shitty ones like I did. Or just buy a precon. You can get precons that the precons is a pre-constructed deck that will run you $40, and it's playable. It's a playable deck fully out of the box with Commander, like with stuff like Standard and Modern and the other formats, right? The 1v1 competitive formats. Wizards doesn't sell you a deck that's playable. They don't do that. They want you to buy the booster packs. But with Commander, you can just buy playable decks that are just good to go. Like they're not super powerful, but they are fine. They are fine. And isn't that great? It's so accessible in that way. Yeah. So I am just, I can't express enough just how good this has been for me. And I really hope that I can find a way to make this work. This would be so good. This would be so perfect. And I'm incredibly worried that it might not. Like, unfortunately, right? Like I told you guys about the video. And I was worried that what would happen is people would go to the video and they would click on it and then click away. And the problem with that is then you have really bad retention. And retention is bad because it just makes it so the video just does not actually just doesn't actually do well in YouTube's algorithm, basically, right? And the video currently has a retention of 3 minutes and 22 seconds. It's actually going up, so that's good. That means more people are actually watching the video. But this is awful. This is terrible, right? Like if I give you a comparable video, just like from one of my regular videos on my channel, I need to swap account. It takes a moment. But if I just the multicast video, right? The multicast video that we did a couple of days ago. So nothing crazy there. Average view duration, 16 minutes and 30 seconds. 5 times as much. And like, the thing is, like, people, I understand you're trying to be supportive. You're trying to go to the new channel and help out. And I really appreciate that. But if you don't watch the video, then you're actually doing more harm by clicking on the video and then immediately clicking away. That is not helpful. And it's difficult because I want you guys to get excited with me. That's why I did this video, right? That's why I'm here. This is the third take. I have spent like 3 hours today trying to record this video because I wanted to make sure it's good. And I think, chat, how do we feel about this take? This take is okay, right? This take is fine. Because like I think I think a lot of you would enjoy this game. You don't have to. I'm not saying you need to. All right, like this is absolutely up to you. But yeah, you know, something that I do is I've been gifting Mickey a lot of Magic cards. Magic and Pokemon cards, admittedly both. Anytime she does something, anytime she accomplishes something, I give her a little card, and it's been so nice. I really like that too. It's just so simple. It's just such a small little token, but I can put a lot of thought into it, and that's great. I can like put a lot of effort into picking the right things, and I don't know. I've just never really like it's been the last time I resonated with something like I resonate with Magic right now has been Dota. And I spent 15 years then making Dota content. So I don't know how else to like properly put it into words, like how strongly this works for me. So yeah. In my ideal world, we upload regularly on the Magic channel, and I would really love it if we had like Friday streams where we just come together and we play some games. That would be so fantastic. But yeah. Anyways, if you ever see me at an event, I would be delighted if you got me a land. That would be so cool. Not a fancy, not an expensive land. Give me a basic land, write, paint, do something with it. Literally take it, scrape it across the sidewalk. Just make it interesting in some way, unique to you. I would be delighted. And yeah, if you want to play with me, you're gonna need a setup like this. It doesn't have to be as nice as mine, but something like this will be necessary because I want to do webcam. But yeah, again, you can get precons. So like, if you are buying Magic cards, sorry, I know I'm just like advertising stuff now, but whatever, let's just do it, right? So you can buy Magic cards here. This is card market, right? Like in Europe, depends on where you are. All right, put Dota art on the land image. Oh my god, you're joking. You're joking. Wait. No, actually, another one of my friends, when I kind of like that was actually, see, this is what I mean, like being part of an actual community of people. I spent like 10 years just locked up in my apartment making videos. I didn't really make any new friends. I didn't meet anybody. But I meant to play Magic at a friend's place. We invited some people that, we play with pretty frequently, but not as often as like my closest circle, if that makes sense. And one of them showed up, and he wasn't one of the people that I asked if they wanted to get me a forest for my birthday. Not because I don't like him, just because I don't play with him that often. I didn't want to be a burden. And he must have seen my video. He went and like watched the video where I talked about this. And then he got me this. I mean, it's a printed proxy, right? But like this, it's tiny. And I really like it. It's tiny. He got one of like this is a pretty, like it's just a thought, right? But he like went and made a custom kind of like land, printed it out, put it in the sleeve and everything. And I think isn't that just great? Like there's just like this idea of a village. Do you know what I'm talking about? This idea of a village where humans weren't meant to be alone. We're meant to be part of a community. And like for me, this is my village, If you want to buy cards in Europe, I don't know about other places, but what I do is I buy individual cards on Card Market. So I don't usually go and like buy booster packs because I find booster packs to be really expensive for the cards that you get out of it. It's very unlikely that you get the cards that you actually want. Instead, I just buy the cards that I want directly, and I just do that on Card Market. But I also wanted to go here really quick to show you. You can buy sealed product and pre-constructed decks, and you can see here, right? Like there's pre-constructed decks here. Some of them are a bit more expensive That depends on the specific decks. Some of them are cheaper. Like you can get this deck right here for 27 euros-ish, like 30 bucks. That's not much money. Because that's a full ass deck. It's a full whole deck. Fully ready to play out of the box. And it's totally fine. It's totally fine. And then you can upgrade it. They're designed so you can then like modify them and add more cards into them and so on. So yeah. Anyways, sorry, we got a little distracted. This is sick, isn't it? Oh, this is the one card I don't want to play because I don't like the effect of it. I'll figure something out to do with it. I hope this explained the game a little bit. I hope this explained why I like it so much. I hope this explained like what about it is so important to me. And I hope that maybe it got some of you interested. I'm not here to like sell you Magic. That's not my goal. But I am sold, if that makes sense, right? Like I'm all in. Like yeah. Anyways, I gotta pack up. I need to make dinner. Oh, it's pretty late. I'm streaming too long. I actually really do need to make dinner. Mickey is sick. And, oh, that's actually, oh shit. Fuck, I didn't see how late it is. All right, friends. Thank you very much for watching the video. I hope this helped clarify a little bit. And I hope now maybe you have a bit more context if you want to go watch the other video. But don't. If it's not, like, honestly, maybe wait until the next video where next video is just gonna be a deck guide for this bad boy. Maybe that's more your speed. We're working on it. Anyways, I'll see you guys. Goodbye.